ready.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Community and Economic Development Committee. It is 6:36, and today is the 10th of June, 2023. July. It is July, isn't it? Time flies when you're having fun. My name is Jeff Schilling, as chair. On my right is Mrs. Snee, and the left is Mr. Pierce. And we have a couple things on the committee's agenda tonight. Number one, we want to provide a recommendation to council regarding the recommendation of the Troy Planning Commission regarding ordinance number O37-2023, rezoning parcel D08-10587, 1511 South Market Street, and parcel D08-251110, 1551 South Market Street, from M2 Light Industrial District to B2 General Business District. So we're going to talk about that first. Who's going to fill us any additional details, or we just...
So you have a report that came out of the Planning Commission. You did have a public hearing at the last council meeting. The Planning Commission did not hold a public hearing because you held a mandatory one, which has been pretty common with the Planning Commission. They are unanimous in recommending the zoning change.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Questions from any other council people? I don't have any questions. We could probably move forward on this, I would guess. No questions. Okay. Number two, we don't need an emergency on that, by the way.
No.
Okay.
It'll be third reading.
Third reading, I guess. Okay. Number two is provide a recommendation to council regarding authorization of the Director of Public Service and Safety to enter into a professional service agreement with American Structure Point Incorporated of Indianapolis, Indiana, to provide a comprehensive update to the comprehensive plan and the zoning code at a cost not to exceed $200,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was half of this was an approved project in the 2023 budget. That was and is the comprehensive plan update, which is budgeted for $125,000. In the long-range plan for 2024, we had the second step being the zoning code update for another $80,000. When we went out to ask for requests for qualifications from the contractors, the consultants, and we received 11 bids. 11 bids, yeah. So it was in high demand. We asked for an alternate, so we asked them to spec out comprehensive plan and then what the additional hours would be, and then ultimately the cost of doing the zoning code, because you need to update the comprehensive plan, and then we can update the details in the zoning code, both of which are very much out of date and need to be updated. And so when we did that, we were given a quote. We interviewed a subset of the 11. We did not interview all 11. I believe we interviewed 5. Oh, it comes in 4. I guess that's 4.
Yeah, I said 4.
And American Structure Point did very well. They have a lot of experience in doing these. They're doing several in the region. We liked the references. We liked the other products that they have come up with. They gave us a timeline of 12 months to do a comprehensive plan update. I believe they broke it down into education, exploration, and empowerment. So the 3 E's, which was very impressive in and of itself. That would be a 12-month process, and then dovetailing into the zoning code, which would be another 18-month process. The comprehensive plan process that they presented had heavy stakeholder public involvement, as well as a deep dive into all aspects of the comprehensive plan. By having this firm develop the comprehensive plan and then do the zoning code, we think that, well, we know that gives us some economies of scale. The two projects, or the two subsets, I guess, is approximately, I think, a little under $193,000. We're asking for $200,000 just in case there's an additional report or an additional presentation, or probably something to do with public involvement. So have a little contingency in there, and then between that and the zoning code change, we would keep it at or below the $200,000 figure.
Questions?
We are not asking for emergency legislation.
So it says we're not rewriting each of these simultaneously. Are you saying there's a 12-month comprehensive plan review followed by an 18-month zoning code, or is any of that done?
That's correct. I mean, there may be a little overlap, just some preliminary work on the zoning code, but really to get into the details of the zoning code, need to have a very clear direction on the comprehensive plan strategy first.
Doing that first. Okay, thank you.
What is the stakeholder and community involvement going to look like on their input on this plan?
I don't know that we've really developed all the details, but they would be there'd be several aspects to it: focus groups, public meeting, perhaps some survey as well. There would be small groups. The focus groups, might have certain stakeholders. We talked about having a group of developers and builders as a group to really understand what they see and what they're experiencing. Another one with maybe our social services and our community population. And then just the general public, residents and business personnel.
Okay, I got a couple. Who are the stakeholders? I mean, we talk about stakeholders. Besides, the staff. Who are the stakeholders? I mean, we did this with some other study, the MKSK study, and who are the stakeholders? When you talk about, I think. Tell me who the stakeholders are, because this is a nebulous term.
It is, and it's fluid, and it should be fluid. As I just mentioned, I just listed some of them that may be stakeholders: developers, builders, business owners, operators. The religious community may be a set of stakeholders. We don't know. Our community organizations, our social services, other, governmental type entities in the city or in the city area. Whether it includes Concord, Taunton Township, I don't know, but I certainly think that I would hope that we would have some input from the county commission, for example. So it's really anybody that would have a legitimate reason to weigh in on this kind of plan.
City council?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Planning commission, our boards and commissions would all be stakeholders potentially as well. The schools.
And some of these other cities, I assume some of them are within our region, a geographic area that we would recognize.
Yes.
How did this company work to include public participation? I mean, when we go out and talk about we want public participation, how are we going to measure that? In other words, how do you think when you're writing this contract with these guys and gals, how are we going to measure public participation in this thing?
Well, I think just by their registration. I mean, if they show up to focus groups, we're gonna have sign-up sheets. If they're weighing in on surveys, you know, there'll probably be some element of trust that we'll have to build in, and that we don't have bots that are, you know, or AI, I guess is what they're calling it nowadays, you know, that will mimic real people. But we should have some statistics that come from the various forms of public input.
Is there a number we're going to try to hit as far as, I mean, we've got 26,000 people, we've got 12,000 households. Is there a number we're going to try to hit saying, okay, if we get this number, this would maybe a representative sampling? And then the other thing I guess I'm concerned about is that, you know, how does that spread out among the wards? We have 6 different wards. They're all, you know, have some differences as far as characteristics. And so how are we going to make sure that this thing covers a nice slice of Troy?
Well, I don't know that there's any way that you can guarantee that it's going to be cross-representative.
You knock on doors.
We can't force people to show up. Certainly, you know, different media platforms, social media. I don't know that we've got any kind of mailing that we're planning on doing.
Knock on doors?
I don't know that we'll be doing that to 12,000 addresses.
One thing they did talk about, one thing they did talk about in the interview process was attending public items, whether we have concerts downtown, doing different events, and coming to those events to get a mass amount of people. We were joking about the timing being off because the Troy Strawberry Festival just came and gone. But next year, I guess with the zoning code, they'd have an opportunity to do that, or maybe towards the tail end of the comprehensive plan. But it would be a group of meetings they set up, public invites, and again, attending these public meetings or these public events, maybe the tour of donut, things of that nature, having a tent out there to kind of catch some of the public.
But we don't have a number that we want to have, like we need a sampling of 10% of the population or 10% of the households.
There's no set number, no.
Why not?
How do you come up with that number? And then, do you blame them if individuals don't show up? It's hard to hold them accountable if they go door to door to every door and they only get 2% of the population. It's not really fair for us to say, well, you didn't go out there and try hard enough. That's just not how these things typically work.
And there's no way to force them to participate.
No, but
I mean, just like
I just want to make sure. I mean, I looked at what we did MKSK, and I thought that was sort of a slap and giggle type of a deal. I mean, we got a 100-page report of which 85 pages were pictures, and the other 15 pages were essentially regurgitating what they did in Dublin and up in Wisconsin, and you know, and that was $140,000 that the public, that, you know, not the city spent, but that came from the public and various agencies. And I just want to make sure we're getting, you know, we're spending this type of money. I want to make sure we're trying to get our money's worth. So I'm just trying to, you know, get down a little deeper as far as how are we going to measure that these people did the right job. And then the other question is, I mean, are they going to, you know, look at the MKSK study and say, hey, this is, you know, helpful or not? I mean, and again, we have the complete street policy that we have that we should be incorporating into this thing as well.
And it will be. That will be. The transportation improvement plan will be. It'll be comprehensive.
Are there any local communities, I mean, that we classify as local, that have worked with these people before?
Moraine, Riverside.
Yeah, we talked to 3 different communities that they did. 2 of them were very close to us. I think one was just across the border. They were all 3 very happy and had good things to say. They really liked their public participation, which is one thing that we really wanted. I think they did some geocoding or geofencing, I don't know the official term, that they've done to try and capture individuals, especially through Facebook and location, things of that nature. So, yeah, we did reach out.
Okay. So we don't know how many, like, how many public meetings they're gonna hold or that type of thing?
Oh, we would nail that down, if this moves forward, and have set numbers. We did talk a little bit about, some public hearings. We wanted, a minimum of 3, a maximum of 8. We just gotta lay that out if we get to that point.
Okay, okay. Again, of course, being from the west side, we have a significant problem right now in, again, I was out in the neighborhood last weekend talking to people, and they've just, their concerns there is that they just have no way of getting to the downtown unless they get into their vehicles and come downtown. And, again, we can't, we've got to come up with some ways, and we've already destroyed a couple of ways of getting into the downtown, and we've got to come up with some way to connect with these people, not only in my district, but Mr. Phillips' district as well out there, and make sure that these people, have alternate ways of visiting downtown and getting downtown safely. And, the master plan has to include that type of thing this time. It just can't, we just can't do it. I mean, I go to other communities and I look at what they've been doing, and it's a world of difference with the way they design their transportation systems, with the fact that they build infrastructure as things develop. They're not waiting 20 years to develop an infrastructure. After the fact, they're building the infrastructure as the cities expand. And, we've got to have to reflect some of that in our master plan. It just, we can't continue to do the way we've done it in the past, as far as I'm concerned on that.
And we can certainly share that with Structure Point, assuming that you make a positive recommendation to the council, and then the next step would be that you participate as a stakeholder.
If I get, invite me, I'd be happy to do that.
You've been invited. Consider yourself invited, Mr. Shelley.
Okay, any other comments from the audience tonight? What do we feel like we want to do on this?
Move forward with it as recommended.
Move forward as recommended, I think we can do that. And it's not emergency, right?
It's not emergency.
Okay. Okay, anything else before the committee?